We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday. We have a guest today. We've had a lot of guests lately, and that's good. That always makes things more interesting. Today, we've got Jace from Texas, and we got some shit to talk to you about. I told you off before we started the show, I have to be careful today. If people are listening to this and going, God, Mike's a little low key, it's because I was a little animated with Eric and my wife was trying to sleep and I got some serious shit. So I got to keep it on the DL today. I'll do the best I can. But Jace, thanks for coming in on the show today. I appreciate it.
Well, I don't know, Mike, how I feel, having to follow Old Soul and Eric. I'll do my best, man. I hope I can live up to the shows they had because I mean, I listen, like I said, I listen every day. So I learned
Well,
so much from them. Hopefully somebody will learn something from me. They've never accused me of that though.
well, and you're opening up for Ed because Ed will be on Saturday, I think.
Oh,
So
great.
we got the murderers row of guests on this week, and that's good. Um, you're from Texas. We got some shit to talk about Texas, but one of the things we were talking about before we got on here was Taylor Swift and how you met a guy who's a Trump humper that doesn't hate Taylor Swift, oddly enough.
Yeah, he's actually a buddy of mine from high school. And, they always say that, Aggies and Longhorns can't coexist, but we actually had lunch today, me and the Longhorn, him being the Aggie.
Right.
And we were talking about, how kind of the layoffs are going on. And, he wasn't blaming the economy. He wasn't blaming, Joe or nothing like that. He was just saying it's a lot of it's corporate greed. Like
Right.
I wrote you an email the other day about how I went to a party with a friend of mine that works for a medical company. And she was, I don't know about Biden because, the Democrats are in charge. I go, no, when you have the executives in the medical or business, their bottom line is not to the employees, to the shareholders to make them money. And if they have to do layoffs, so be it. I mean, the economy, is getting better, interest is going down. But just to kind of, I had to like, calm down a Democratic voter for that, saying it's not on them. But I was pleasantly surprised because my buddy, who's a Republican, well, he liked Trump. He had his Facebook picture on him and stuff like that with him, showing the Superman flag or his
Right.
shirt
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
But we were talking about Taylor Swift, and we were talking about, yeah, we're, in our 50s. We're not fans of her, so to speak, music, but we're both fans of the person she is.
Absolutely.
And it's like I know that media he listens to is the same one I used to listen to, the Fox Limbo. Here you go, slip the tongue. Fox News, Rush Limbaugh's, well, not Limbaugh anymore, but it's probably the a lot of Tucker Carlson's that a lot of that I know that they listen to, and they're just going ape shit crazy over her. They're going after her. They're going after Travis for doing a goddamn COVID commercial. Oh, the nerve of that guy! And it's like, Jesus Christ. And it was like, we had a conversation and he goes, yeah, she gets a lot of hate. She didn't deserve it. And I was like, holy shit. Can I pay for your lunch? You've seen the light. But it's like that, especially down here in Texas, I'd like to say a shout out to my friend Laura, who's a big fan of yours. And she
Hey, Laura.
always, this, this podcast, she's been a good friend of mine and she's been another blue dot in a red sea. But
Well,
she always kind of,
if she's a
it
friend of
always good to
yours,
have that.
if she's a friend of yours and a blue dot in a Texas landscape, she's a friend of mine and a friend of the show. So hi, Laura.
Yeah, and I was driving down in South Texas this weekend or this week. I didn't see as many Trump flags as I did before. I see a lot of Texas flags and a lot of American flags. I don't see a lot. I don't see a lot of the Trump stuff. So maybe wear it off. I mean, my buddy could be proof of that. Maybe they're starting to see it, or at least the smart ones are. The other ones that drink the Kool-Aid are going to continue. So
I think some of the ones with uh, average or above brain cells are probably starting to grasp that this is a loser and they can't keep doubling down. Otherwise, it's all going to go to shit. But now that you brought up Taylor Swift, I wanted to mention this because I heard this yesterday actually. And, the Republicans are losing their shit about Taylor Swift because she, as I've said before, she is more popular and more powerful than any politician on either side of the aisle. Right now, she is without question the uh,
yeah,
the more powerful person. She's got a lot of influence. So now leave it to the Republicans. They're crafty. They're always ready for a SWAT back. So you know what they're doing. They're setting
No
up a
telling.
they're setting up a tour, and their version of Taylor Swift is Kid Rock. Oh yeah, the kids will just love Kid Rock. He's got kid in his name, Jesus Christ. So Kid Rock's got a bunch of other country redneck motherfuckers, and he's going to go on tour trying to register people. Like that hasn't been done before. So the Republicans once again fail trying to get the kids with a guy who's 55 years old.
Kid Rock. Wow. If this was the year 1999, maybe,
Yeah,
and the thing about Taylor Swift is that she may be the one thing that's actually bigger than the NFL
yeah,
because they give the NFL a bunch of crap, and I think even Al Michaels lost his job because he was kind of told to talk about her.
yeah,
And Al Michaels, he's older than both of us put together, so he needs to, maybe retire anyway.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
he, the NFL is like, they're like, well, I don't get why the NFL wants to talk to her. She can sell out, where the Cowboys play. She can sell out where the Patriots play. She's one person doing multiple nights. There had a thing down, the NFL had a thing down in Carolina where they had like hardly anybody. So it's like Taylor Swift may actually be bigger than the NFL. She's definitely,
Absolutely.
like you said, bigger than George Soros, who, pays both our paychecks. So, maybe we'll start working for Taylor next.
Yeah, I wish George had my address because I'm not getting a check. So I don't know what's going on.
George
Maybe
Soros, not Santos. There's a difference. So,
I'll take George's Santos money too if he wants to send it to me. But
if I
but
check amounts.
you know what's interesting? Do you know who's supposed to be singing or performing at the halftime of the Super Bowl this year? I remember hearing it, and it wasn't anything that really surprised me
I haven't heard.
or excited me. But Taylor Swift should do a show. I mean, if Prince can do one and did a hell of a halftime show,
Oh yeah.
NFL should be going over there begging Taylor Swift to do a fucking halftime show. They'd make twice as much money.
Well, especially for boyfriends playing in the Super Bowl. Hey, just you can drive her home.
Yeah, no shit. They can carpool into the
Yeah.
fucking place. Um,
Yep.
let's talk about Texas since you're from Texas. There's a few things going on down there that are weird. Of course, um, I had Old Soul on, and we were talking about the situation with Katie Cox down there and Paxton, and Katie Cox going to court. And the court says, "Okay, yeah, these are extreme conditions. You can get an abortion." And then Paxton steps in and throws up some hurdles for her. Now she has to go out of state to do it, and he would probably try to track her down and charge her with some crime for going out of state. What the fuck is going on with Ken Paxton and the legislature in Texas? It's just fucking untenable.
Well, there's a thing now with Paxton and Greg Abbott. They're both going after the Republicans, I guess, in the House that actually voted to impeach him. So, instead of worrying about the infrastructure and, worrying about the power grid for our upcoming winter, we're worried about, revenge. Old Soul said something, I believe it was Old Soul that said it, that she was, I guess, surprised. I don't know if that was her exact words. My ADD kicks in all the time, but she had a good point saying, you know, it's usually poor women of color they
Right.
go after for the abortion thing. They're going after a white conservative because she is a Republican, I believe.
Yeah, and,
And,
and and actually, Old Soul never said she's white. She was reluctant to say that. I'm the one that said,
oh,
"You mean she's
okay,
white?" She goes, "Well, I'm
yeah.
not saying that."
Well,
Old
they do
Soul, when
go
you're on
after
my show, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
they do go after the women of color, and it's usually the women that are white. Like I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but we're both Caucasian,
Yeah,
and they're the women that usually vote along with their husbands,
right.
and they're the women that vote Republican, and it's mind boggling. But this may actually turn things. I don't know. We always kind of say that in Texas. A lot of people are very optimistic about Texas. Yeah, I tell you, Mike, I've seen the Beto rallies. I've seen, how close they came. And Beto said it himself. The problem with Texas is there's not Democrats out there, or, not so much Democrats, but, liberals, or, not conservative, let's just say. They don't vote.
Right.
A lot of them don't vote. I mean, and then you have Paxton get up there and say that he threw out 250 votes. I don't believe that. I think you kind of threw cold water. I don't believe that. There'd be too much of a paper trail, but they're doing everything they can to keep it from going, and
Right.
they're succeeding. They're succeeding. I'm optimistic about Ted Cruz losing, but goddamn, who knows people? And and I would think that the just the thing about Texas right now is that I was down in South Texas where my family's from, McAllen, right by the border, and they had an interesting story that I don't think the national media has caught on to. There's a checkpoint down there, and these people aren't swimming across the Rio Grande. They're in line to do it legally to get asylum.
Right.
And it ain't Mexican folks doing this. These are people from Russia. These are people from Ukraine. They
Really?
had 14,000 people down there. And they were talking about on, ABC News, that liberal media, and they were saying that, they're seeing a different change. People are trying to escape Russia. I don't know about Ukraine, but, Turkey was mentioned. You don't hear the media talking about that. I mean, there's a crisis there, but it's not all coming from Mexico that
Right.
the Republicans want you to believe.
Well,
And
the
I
white
saw
people are
something.
cruel. The white people are cruel. You don't.
Well, yeah,
White
that's what
people.
I'm saying, that they're okay with that, but you don't hear them talking about that. They always focus on the Mexicans race because a lot of those people believe they're racist, to say it is. I mean, you hear, Republican Party, I mean, I have some friends that are Hispanic and they're Republican, and it's like, how the hell are you Republican? And they look at me, well, you're white, how the hell are you a Democrat? So
Yeah.
it's like,
I don't get. I
it's
don't get
like,
that.
when I say Democrat, it's probably more liberal than Democrat. I don't really, I
No,
try
no,
not
no,
to
no,
identify.
no, no, no. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how the Hispanic people are Republican. I just don't get that. It makes no sense.
Well, I've seen it. I've seen it faced hand where I've seen people how they look down upon somebody. It's kind of like, maybe the white people would look upon, white trash, so to speak.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, we all have our prejudice, but it's not just one race. It's a lot of times it's race within our own race.
Yeah, I
But
hate old. I hate old white men.
yeah,
They
but
suck.
that really surprised me. They had like 14,000 people at the checkpoint. But when you're coming back from down there where I used to live in McAllen, you go up there and around a little town called Falfurrias. There's a border patrol, and I was telling my buddy up here because he was, and I was going, I thought the borders were open. Why am I having to stop? And and I was talking shit, and I wasn't texting and driving. I was talking to Siri and saying this shit. Well, they changed the lane up there, so my ass ended up with the truck, not the car lane, the big old rigs. And I drove up to those guys. They had the dogs. I go, sorry, brother, I didn't see the turn. So I was too busy talking shit about the Republicans that it bit me in the ass. But I was like, oh, I thought, I want to ask those is this open borders? I thought Joe's open borders, and I saw, and I'll close. I know I'm going off here. Our illustrious Speaker of the House, you said it where they don't want to pass any immigration. They don't
No,
want to
no,
do
they
that. I
don't.
mean, Biden can only do so much. You know what our Ken Johnson wants to do now, even though he's doing this impeachment, which is a sham.
Yeah.
He wants Joe Biden to do an executive order on the border. Hey, that rhymes. But they want to impeach him, but they still need him. I mean,
Right.
it's just the damnedest thing. Congress should pass that shit. And the Republicans, they don't have abortion to fall back on anymore. So they goddamn sure ain't going to work on the border.
Well, the whole strategy for Republicans going into the 2024 elections are the same that they had in 2020. They have no
Yep.
platform, they have no policies, they have nothing. It's just a matter of trying to find things to call out their opponent on, whether it be Hillary or Joe Biden. Oh, they're bad
Yeah.
because of this. They think they can win an election because they can smear the opponent. and it just isn't working anymore. And for whatever reason, they don't want to let it go. They want to keep trying, and they're going to fail miserably in 2024, and then they're going to have to step back and regroup and figure out what the fuck they're going to do. I wanted to ask you too about this dumb fuck lieutenant governor of yours, Dan Patrick. His, the idea of the Colorado Supreme Court taking Donald Trump off the ballot, and his
For
response is
what?
so typical. Yeah, well, yeah, uh,
Sure, I know what you're getting. I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
yeah. So your lieutenant governor Dan Patrick says, well, we'll just take Joe Biden off.
Yeah,
Well,
for
we're
what?
talking
Yeah.
apples and oranges here. What possibly could you do that? And you're not in a position to do that. That's what they do. They just say he knows he can't do that. He's just saying it
Hmm.
because he wants to get in the narrative and downplay what is going on. It's kind of like the whole impeachment thing. We want to impeach Joe Biden just so when we get to the election, you say we Trump was impeached. Well, so was Joe Biden. It's all
Yeah, that's what
it's
it
all
is.
perception, and it's really weak and a really lame strategy. I can't believe they still do it.
Well, there's a term in the South that we use. I get, a lot of people say Texas is in the South, but we're about as south as you can get,
Yeah.
right by Mexico. It's a South called carpetbagger. That's
Okay.
exactly what he is. He ain't from Texas. He's from Massachusetts. He's from Baltimore, I guess.
Really? Yeah, he doesn't look like a
Yeah,
Texan.
yeah. He's not a Texan. So and they get. I mean, there. It's like it's like that whole. It's like that. Anytime somebody says something about Trump, he's got to come back with a response.
Right.
That's what he's told the Republic. I know you are, but what am I? That's what he's told to turn the Republicans into. When they need that goddamn disaster money, DeSantis is there, so's Abbott. They're there for that money. And I think even DeSantis one time thanked Biden for doing a thing, and boy, he got hell for that.
Yeah.
My God, and Chris Christie got hell for thanking Obama, and but I mean, it's like we have the worst, and the Texas is the worst example of like just people electing. I mean, there's a lot smarter people, but that's just they don't. The cream doesn't always rise to the crop, evidently, especially down here. I mean, people died with the failed power grid. People died,
Right. Exactly.
and this summer, and it's like they they passed some law. They put some amendment there to where they're not gonna I mean, it was something less regulations on fossil fuels or something. It was something to where it's like, yeah, we can't invest in clean energy when wind energy is what saved our ass.
Right.
With that, and we had some blackouts this summer because the wind wasn't blowing.
Right.
It just, I mean, it's like, oh, we made him in ERCOT or whatever. They came out and said, we've made vast improvements, but still expect blackouts. It's like, okay,
Not that
well,
good of an improvement.
I've had like 4 wrecks. I've gotten better, but I still had 3 wrecks this week. I mean, it's
Right.
like you still have I mean, it's just like and I tell you what it is that we can get away with this stuff can happen in Uvalde. They don't want to talk about gun and even just a background check. This stuff happens with the power grid. I thought this was sure with Uvalde and the power grid. I thought for sure. And Beto, he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's a Democrat, and
Right.
that's what a lot of people can't get past. And
Well,
Texas used to be the Ann Richards place, and but it's
LBJ.
yeah, you have a lot of just I don't know. I mean, it's like I say I don't know, but I see how my family is,
Well,
so I do know.
let me ask you this. In 2020, we had an unprecedented amount of people that voted. Um, Joe got 81 million, Trump got 74 million, and it and Joe didn't get 81 million because he was the greatest candidate. He got it
Yeah,
because there were a lot of people fearful of Donald Trump getting in and being president for another 4 years. Fear played a big role in the 2020 election. I think it's going to play a bigger role in 2024 because the stakes have been raised quite a bit, and the danger to this country is significant. You say the Democrats in Texas don't vote. Does that fear factor come into play with Texas? I mean, because over and above everything else, just the overturning of Roe v. Wade, if that doesn't strike fear into the 70 or 75% of the people that believe in Roe v. Wade, these fuckers are never going to vote.
I, honestly, Mike, I don't, it's with me. I had my, one of my, I had my government teacher in high school get me registered to vote. I don't think you can do that anymore. Now, of course, this is like the late '80s. She got
Really?
me, and I have voted in every, I have voted in every election, since then. I think I missed one. It was Clinton and Bob Dole, and I voted for some Republicans, but yeah, I think there's such a war on education down here that they want you to believe, it's, Greg Abbott still hasn't funded the schools because he didn't get his way because vouchers weren't passed.
Yeah.
And so, and it wasn't just Democrats. There were a lot of rural Republicans that, that just wouldn't get it. But they have been notorious for not funding education because they want, these private schools.
Right.
And I went to private schools and I went to public schools, and I tell you, I learned more from public schools
Definitely.
because it's like, I mean, I was raised, to believe the Bible and to believe the Bible was the only answer. Then you get out in the real world and you realize, hey, there's people that are Muslim over here. There's people that are Jewish. It's not just about me.
Well,
And that's what Texas is. It's become, there's a little meme going out about the Handmaid's Tale, and they're all in blue saying these are the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
right, right.
I mean, they have a lot of fear, but Texas is, I mean, at one time it was very progressive. I don't mean that in the, party way, but they were,
Right,
it was his own country at one time.
right.
But these Republicans here would be perfect. They, you talk about nobody voting, they make it hard, especially for like the minorities, like in Houston, the biggest, they put something there where they can like, they can like look at, they can have, they want to send like poll checkers to watch the poll. That's intimidation. You
Yeah,
know, they do crap like that. They take away a lot of the early voting. They talk, they make it harder for people that, like in line. I mean, they make it harder to vote here in Texas, and that's what a lot of it is. It ain't hard for a guy like me to vote, which is kind of funny because they think I vote one way. You look at
right,
me, I look like I'm a damn Trumper. I
right,
mean, I
right.
got the bald head, I got the beard, but and a lot of people come up and talk to me that way. I mean, nobody looks what's inside, and they make it hard for people to vote. And I mean, that's all. I mean, you think it's hard to get an abortion? I mean, it's hard, and it's only the areas where they're, like in it's Harris County in Houston, where it's highly Democratic, highly blue.
I wanted to bring up a story that came up yesterday that was the big story, and it's just one more shred of evidence that just nails Donald Trump. There is uh, now proof that Donald Trump and the Republican National Committee chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel,
Yep.
were on a phone call in 2020 with Michigan Republicans, a couple of canvassers, and they were trying to pressure them to not sign off on the certification. And they said, you're not going to look very good. If things aren't going to go well for you if you sign that certification. And they ended up by saying, look, here's the deal. Just don't sign it. Go home and we'll pay for the lawyers for you.
Mm.
Now, we know this is all true because it's all on audio tape. How this happens to Donald Trump all the time, I do not know, but this is direct evidence. His voice, McDaniel's voice. Here, he's certainly trying to overturn the election, and he knows it's illegal because otherwise, why would he say, I'm going to hire you attorneys? This is pretty damning evidence. And it seems like every day more of it's coming out. I just sense that when we get into these trials with Jack Smith and the like, we think we've heard it all, but
Yeah.
I don't think we've heard anything yet. We're going to hear some pretty crazy shit. And that and the 10-inch binder, these is all starting to leak out, and it's getting crazier every day.
It's funny. I see people on Facebook and they'll write this, and they're friends of mine. They're left leaning and stuff, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And like I see it, I'm not surprised. I'm like, "Have you not been paying attention for the last 6+ years?" I mean, I guess maybe I'm so numb to it, but it doesn't. Anything that man does, it doesn't surprise me. It's like Ken Paxton down here. That hell, Paxton probably told him to do that
Yeah.
when that trial was going on. He was contacting the freaking people that were running the trial. That'd be
Right.
like, that'd be like me, going through a divorce, and calling, or some kind of like trial or something. And I would, be calling the jury. I mean, I don't know divorce, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like if that would be me or you, and kind of what the Republicans are trying to do now, Jim Jordan saying they want to see Jack Smith's evidence. You're interfering with the freaking investigation. Yeah, but they don't want to let Hunter Biden testify publicly. Nothing Trump does or things I hear surprises me, you know, and it won't matter to the hardcore. I mean, that Access to Hollywood tape should have buried him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was talking about sexual assault,
Yeah.
and it
Absolutely.
almost did. January 6th should have buried him. It almost did until the Republicans couldn't raise money, so McCarthy went down and kissed the ring. I mean, there are so many stories that should have ended him. And this, and if I'm feeling, if I, as a, somebody that never supported Trump, even though I used to be a Republican, I mean, it's like the MAGA, it's just, it's like he says stuff about becoming a dictator for one day. My God, I mean, it's just, it just amazes me. And it's like, yeah, and they're fine with that. They're fine
Yeah.
with violence. And I had people tell me in my face there was no insurrection because nobody died. I go, yeah, people did die.
People did die. People,
Yeah,
150 cops were injured. There was
but it
a,
was that Antifa guy.
yeah. And unfortunately, they have not been able to catch any Antifa and put them in jail. It's all Trump-la-fucks. Yeah, it's amazing to me that they still try to push that narrative across the line because it's such a stupid argument. When you look at Donald Trump with this trying to do all these things to overturn the election, to pressure Republicans, I don't know if it's arrogance or ignorance or just desperation. Because I mean, that's what we're looking at with Donald Trump now. He's at a point where if he's not getting desperate, he's fucking delusional. He's not mentally well because everything is coming in around him and it's been doing it for a long time. And like you said with your friend who's not mad about Taylor Swift, not mad about the economy, I
That
am
shocked
s-
me.
I am sensing kind of a paradigm shift. It's
You know,
not
it's
quite as hardcore as it was.
it's funny. People kind of like, you have friends that are like Republican. I go, I'm in Texas. You throw a rock, you're going to hit one. I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah.
you got to work with them. You got to do all that stuff. Uh, One thing I forgot what I was going to say, but you and Eric were talking about how y'all didn't understand how the Republicans stick to Trump so hard. I can tell you why. Being a Republican at one time, listening to Rush Limbaugh, I can remember the Limbaugh, and I guess they got so many mouthpieces now. Limbaugh created a monster,
Yeah, he did.
and the Republicans would get so pissed, especially like Limbaugh, and he had that pedestal of all those people out here. He talked to millions of people. People say he wasn't that big. No, the guy was huge. He was huge.
He was, yeah.
Besides size wise and head wise, they have been looking for a Trump for years because you can say what you want to about Trump, but that motherfucker don't give up.
Yeah.
He's like the guy. He's like the goddamn Energizer Bunny. Yeah, well, McCain caved on this. Or George H.W. has caved on this. That would piss them off. They
Yeah.
hated it, even though their hero Ronald Reagan worked with Tip O'Neill all the time. But they didn't like the compromise. That's when the shutdown started up because this started with Newt Gingrich and how
And
that guy can even be on anything. They
yeah.
have been looking for a Trump forever, and it's like what you said, Mike. They know the end is coming. Trump's their last bit. They have to go with him.
Right, right.
He's
You know,
he's like yeah. I mean, it's they have to go with him
you
because they
you
have no other choice.
you would know this better than I do, given where you live. But I get the sense, people who support Donald Trump and the Republican Party and the Trump-lefucks and the MAGA and all this shit, they remind me more of a Texas football fan base. They're out for blood. That's
Uh-uh.
not a good example.
Well, I thought you were going to start talking about how delusional my Dallas Cowboys are. Yeah, they're
No,
pretty
no, I'm not
delusional
talking
too.
about it. I'm not talking about any particular team. I'm just saying down there, especially with college and high school football in
Yeah,
Texas,
it's a
their
cult.
fans are fervent. I mean, they
Oh
are
yeah,
fervent about their shit.
oh yeah. Texas football is very big down here, and it's like especially with the University of Texas, who I support because I didn't go to Texas in Austin, but I went to one of the affiliates here in San Antonio, and I've always identified with Longhorn. All my family are Aggies, and it gets personal. I mean it gets. I mean it's like football's king, and you every year it's funny with the Dallas Cowboys are like that too. I like the Cowboys, and they break my heart all the time. But the Dallas Cowboys are a lot like Trump because, and it's not a lot of it's not the players' fault. It's Jerry Jones,
Right.
but the media puts them on this pedestal all the time. Talking about how great they are. And if being a Viking fan, you know how it is to go up there and not make it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like the Cowboys get just brutalized for it because, and it's not so much the players doing it, it's the media putting them up there. They win 2 or 3 games. Oh, they're the MVP and all this stuff. And when they fall, they like to watch them fall. People anymore, they don't like winners as much. They hated Tom Brady. The guy's a fucking winner. Winners
Yeah.
get to do what they want,
Yeah.
but they love to watch people fail.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
that's unless you're Trump, and they love it. He was at a UFC event the other night, and he walked out with a Mario Lopez, which is like a guy that was on Saved by the Bell,
Right.
and he's a Hispanic, origin. And I sent it to some of my friends. Go, hey, look who's out there with Trump, and they were just like, oh my god. I go, does it really surprise you? But there was some guy that comes out in a MAGA hat that got his ass kicked. So they're interviewing after it. Who does he sound like? Oh, the
Sounds like
refs
Trump.
were against me. I mean, it
Right.
was like, but they don't give that guy a pass, but it's the same thing Trump's doing.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, and it's like Giuliani now, and and he's trying to do that shit. A lot of people try to pull this shit Trump does. They don't get away with it like Trump does.
I just
Trump,
I just don't
it's
understand
crazy.
why people are willing to destroy their careers. There's another small story that came out yesterday. This guy by the name of John Schneider. He's a
Yes.
nobody. He's a fucking nobody. Now, he was a somebody when he was on the TV show Dukes of Hazzard. He was Bo Duke. Now, after that, I think he tried to sing country a little bit, but he's
He
pretty
was
much
actually
done.
he was actually one of my childhood idols growing up. I love the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah,
I don't think the rebel flag, I mean, it's always been a bad symbol, but I think it was more accepted back then
you're
in the
definitely
80s,
more
of
accepted.
course. I guess now people are more woke. I mean, I don't personally like it. They lost. America won. They're traitors.
Like Donald Trump
So
said, I don't like losers. I
yeah,
like winners. And the
yeah, I
North
saw
won.
I saw that. I saw that about him saying that. And I remember he said that, what he said, he was totally describing Donald Trump.
Well, he was. And, the thing about it is here's a guy that was a big TV star for a short time, peaked in the 80s pretty much.
Yeah.
But he is a big time Trump humper now, a Trump humping piece of shit. There's no question. I've seen other TikToks and stuff that he's done, but he tweeted out or X'd out or whatever the fuck you call it now that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were treasonous and they should be hung. That's a
Yeah.
little aggressive when you're talking about a sitting president of the United States. Now, he got a lot of backlash about that, and he took that down pretty goddamn fast. All right, but
Screenshots of it,
he didn't take it
not
off
fast enough.
fast enough because you know
Nope.
why? The Secret Service has now started an investigation into him. So fuck around, find out.
Yeah, I think Jim Jordan said that he's pretty concerned about that. So his committee will be looking into it too.
Well, yeah, that we were talking about that beforehand. How Jim Jordan is now like, well, he tried to subpoena Elvin Bragg, didn't work. He tries subpoena um, Fonnie Willis, doesn't work.
Yeah,
Now he's going to go after Jack Smith and Merrick Garland for these federal crimes in DC. He's trying to go in there and mix it up. He can't possibly be doing that of his own accord because he's
Nope.
already failed twice and he's looked stupid. He's only doing it because Donald Trump is telling him to do it. Now the fucked up thing about this is I kind of wish Jack Smith would respond to the subpoena. He would destroy Jim Jordan, but you know Jack's not a talker, so I'm assuming Merrick Garland and Jack Smith will ignore it. But here's where the dumb part comes in. Okay, so they don't show up, and they recommend contempt of Congress. Where do they send that? To fucking
Yep.
Merrick Garland. So is Merrick Garland going to charge himself and Jack Smith with contempt of Congress? I don't fucking think so. This is all just performance. This isn't real. And that's the fucking crazy thing about it.
Republicans don't run on anything real. They run on what they can campaign on.
Right.
Because it's once something comes out, like somebody calls Trump a something, he puts it out. It's like almost like a wrestling thing. Like
Right.
you get a good wrestling saying and they put the t-shirt out, like I'm surprised the Vermin t-shirts haven't come out. Vermin 2024, I
Yeah.
mean, Trump is like, I mean, he did wrestling for a while, and I admit I liked wrestling. He was pretty good at it. You know why? Because he's an actor. He's an actor.
He's a
I mean,
buffoon too.
he is a buffoon. And he's that, and it's like you talk about the football team they describe MAGA. I mean, it's like I remember back in the old days, Russia was our enemies, but not
Yeah.
now with Trump. It totally, Russia's on our side. And like, what? And it's like, you talk about spinning his grave. Ronald Reagan,
Oh, he would be pissed.
he was Ronald Reagan was a lot of things, very misguided, but he loved this country in his own way. He totally fucked it over with a lot of stuff. Like, hearing you and Ed talk about that,
Yeah.
being a young, Republican there, revering Reagan. And not Nixon so much, but it was an eye opener, man. I mean, it's if people just do their homework, but they people don't like to read; they like to be read to and told what to do. That's
Yeah.
a lot of it goes hand and
Well,
hand
people
in
are
hand.
lazy.
Yeah,
That might be why we have all the apathy that we've had in this country. But I will tell you this: the apathy that we had in this country is the main reason we are where we are today.
that's
It,
Texas.
People didn't know anything. They didn't care. They just took a shot in the dark. Donald Trump was just the alternative to establishment politics. They didn't know anything about him. That's why I find it always interesting when they try to compare 2016 to 2024. You can't, because in 2016 nobody knew anything about Donald Trump. They didn't know what he was capable of, and now they do know a lot and will know more before 2024's election. You can't compare the two. It's two totally different things. That's why I
Plus, in
don't
two,
think Donald Trump can win.
plus in 2016, you had the most perfect candidate for Trump to beat, the one person Trump could
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah.
Should he
Absolutely.
beat her? No, Hillary should have been the president, but they have beat her down so long. Hell, I used to think she killed Vince Foster because that's what Rush Limbaugh told me. I
Well,
mean,
she
it's
didn't.
just, I mean, yeah, right. I mean, it's just that one time, and a lot of us that grow out of the whole thing, it's kind of like Santa Claus. One day you just like there ain't no such thing, and
Yeah.
it's just because you have you have a something between your ears. It is not your nose; it's your brain. But
Yeah.
people don't use the brain. I mean, it's sad, and that's why he continues to grift off his base because millionaires need money too.
Yeah.
Billionaires, I guess.
And it's never, never, ever enough. You got to
Never.
get more. You gotta grift and grab as much as you can get. I tell you what, Jace, we are going to take a quick break and we will be right back. We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Jace from Texas is with us. He's a listener. He's been on the show before. He writes a lot of emails. It's always a pleasure to have him back. And we're going to get into Colorado and Donald Trump and all this stuff. I just wanted to bring up a personal thing that I'm a little fearful of. I spent the day yesterday babysitting my 3-year-old granddaughter. Okay, and she's more advanced mentally than most 3-year-olds, and she's highly manipulative, mainly because grandpa's so um, pliable when it comes to her. I can be a tough guy on certain things. And I have a quandary because, we try to put her to bed for about 2 hours, my wife and I, and she would just not go to bed. I asked my son, what do you do when you put her to bed? Well, I pick her up. We go in her bedroom. We lay down on the bed. We turn the light out, maybe read a book or two, and she goes to sleep. I go, we tried that. It doesn't fucking work. I mean, I was trying everything. I looked at her and she knows she's playing me the whole time. I said, look, Junie, we've got Christmas coming up, and Santa watches everything. He's he's he doesn't like he likes kids to be good kids and they get gifts and all that stuff. And she says, Grandpa, I'm a good girl all the time. I can have one bad day. I go, well, I suppose you can. I suppose
Yeah.
you can. And but she, she's 3 and she's already playing fucking with my head. It's just crazy. It's upsetting. And she's only 3. I can't imagine what she's going to do when she's 10 or 15. I feel sorry for my son because she's formidable, and she's not going to be easy. She's going to be fun. I love that kid, but she's not going to be an easy, compliant kid. And hopefully, we'll try to get her off the track of where she is so she doesn't end up fucking Republican. Anyway, I want to talk about this Colorado thing, um, and the immunity thing. These both may involve the Supreme Court, and people are really wondering what's going to happen. Let's first talk about the immunity thing. Um, that's an interesting situation because Donald Trump asked for complete immunity from Judge Chutkin. She said, fuck yourself. He went to the appellate court. Jack Smith tried to one up him, went to the Supreme Court and said, hey, we're going to end up here anyway. So can you just answer this so we can get this out of the way and get down to what we're doing? This is kind of important shit. And they said they would look at it pretty quickly, make a decision on it. Well, then Donald Trump steps up and goes, guys, let's just slow it down a little bit. There's no rush. Well, of course there isn't, Donnie, in your mind. And then Jack Smith responds and says, um, you know what? I'd like an immediate answer to this thing. This is too important to the country. We need it done. Now, with this immunity thing, I think Donald Trump wanted to slow it down because he knows he's not going to win this. And he may have played his hand too fast because he's all about delay. And once they come back and say, no, you're not immune, and the final word being the Supreme Court, that fucks up a lot of his defenses, not in just that particular case, in every fucking case. All of a sudden, a big part of his defense is fucking gone. And I don't know if he accounted for that, but he's not getting the delay he wanted, and he might be losing a defense strategy.
Well, besides Roe versus Wade overturning, the Supreme Court has handed down some pretty surprising. The I guess the gerrymandering in Alabama, that was kind of surprising.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
I mean, and it's like, and they when he tried to overturn the election, they turned it back. So he may, he ought to his lawyers ought to be fired for letting him take that to the Supreme Court. You know what I mean? Like, he shouldn't have done it so soon. He should have maybe waited. But you said it, Mike, that he reacts. He doesn't
Yeah,
think things
right.
through. And a lot of people give Joe Biden a lot of shit because he's not real fast. Son of a bitch is still sharp though. You know, he
He is sharp.
they asked him the other day, was Trump guilty? Well, he caused an insurrection, and they're all pissed off that he said that. Oh, I thought Joe was, besides having open borders, was losing it. No, Joe knows what he's doing. He's not as fast, but Joe thinks.
Right.
I mean, you just look back at the debates he had with Trump. He cleaned Trump's clock, and I still think he could do it. I don't think Trump will debate because I think DeSantis and Chris Christie are right. He's afraid to debate because he may bring up he may think he's talking to Obama. I mean that shit is. I mean it's I didn't hear Joe Biden saying he was running against Reagan. He
No.
he lays it out. Does he misspeak? Yeah. Hell, I'm 51 years old. I misspeak all the goddamn time.
I do too, and
But
I
it,
talk a
but it,
lot, so it's
yeah,
not
but
unusual.
it's like he overreacted, and he may have what's the old porn saying? Shot your wad, I guess, is what
Yeah,
to be graphic about it. But he may have done that, and his lawyers should have told him, "Don't do this. Slow down." But no, he's got to be Trump. He doesn't listen to his lawyers. Jack Smith was just waiting for that. He's like that crocodile waiting for that zebra to cross the river.
right.
Gotcha, motherfucker. And and it's like that. Why do you think they're amping up? Oh, they're going to call him to testify now because they know they fucked up.
Yeah,
And a lot of people are saying, well, Jack Smith's not fast enough or whatever. I mean, this may end it for him. Besides that, New York thing that taking his money, because if the Supreme Court is stupid enough to say all presidents have immunity or whatever, we have a dictator. Biden can cancel the election and make himself king. Put
exactly.
Kamala as his successor. Let's do it. I'm fine with that. Republicans are fine with Trump. Hell, I'm fine with a Democrat in charge. I know not really, but
Well,
you're right. It ain't gonna happen.
well, even if the Supreme Court wanted to um, um, cater to Donald Trump, the other results are so horrible. I mean, like I said before, if Donald Trump does somehow gets through all this stuff and becomes a dictator, then that makes the Supreme Court pointless. So they basically given away all their power. They're not going to do that. And secondly, um, Joe Biden has all the freedoms Donald Trump claims he would have, and
Yep.
Joe Biden can do whatever he wants. So suck on that, Republicans. How are you going to like that? See,
Well,
they don't make good choices. They don't think ahead. They only think at the moment. They're like a dog that sees a bone. Now that bone might be sitting next to a tiger, but they're just going to grab the fucking bone, and that's what the Republicans are doing, and they fuck up every time.
the thing about it is that, of course, I saw Chris Christie, Nikki Haley, DeSantis, and they were just, oh my God, and Chris Christie, I have never liked that guy. I
No,
always
he's a
thought he was
buffoon too.
no, he's a thug. He's like a
Yeah,
hey, what's going on? Like
yeah,
that mafioso type. He said it well. I don't like a fact that a court of law is taking that away. Who can be president, who can be not. We have something in this country that the Republicans at one time claimed to be, and that's a party of law and order.
right.
Does he literally have to shoot somebody for that to say enough for him not to be on there? I don't know what it takes. And I guarantee you one thing. If Trump gets the nomination, all three of them will vote for them. Christie will vote for Trump. I don't
Oh,
trust that son of a bitch more than anything because he talks about, well, he should be beating Biden with this stuff. I mean, it's like, and it's like he says, well, and it's funny to hear Chris Christie talk because he'll talk about, yeah, Hunter's going to go to jail.
no, he's not.
But Trump's okay. He caused an insurrection, did all this bullshit, calling for violence. I mean, they're what did they aren't these just getting all this harassment they're going through. I mean, I remember when Gary Hart had a chick sit on his lap,
Right,
and people thought he wasn't qualified to be president.
right,
So
right,
you cause an insurrection, and he did. He was involved with it big time. I mean, it's not just my word; it's the evidence.
right.
You look at it, there's there. But all three of those would vote for him, and I just don't get it. I don't know what it's going to take. Chris Christie speaks out against him. He's that kind of guy that speaks a lot and stuff, but he's I think he's all fluff and no stuff, to quote the old wrestling saying.
Yeah, and
I just
I don't
yeah, I
think
don't think so.
I don't think he believes he's going to win. He just can't. I mean, you've got a Republican Party that's divided. None of them really have the power to win anything, including Donald Trump. Too many people are afraid of what Donald Trump is. I don't think he'll be the nominee because I think they'll realize as they get closer to the convention that Donald Trump is dragging them down. Now,
And there's another story that came out I saw before we got on from the Hill was talking about I think it was the Democrats have raised like I think 12 million just in just December alone, and they're sitting
right,
on like 20 million plus, and the Republicans their people aren't donating to them because of Trump. Yeah, you have the Koch brother that's going to Nikki Haley, and I mean it's but ultimately though all those Republicans, if Trump's on the ballot, they'll support him. I mean, I don't care. I mean, Democrats do the same thing. You look at that dust up between Kamala and Joe, where oh my God, and
Yeah.
they got together. But the stuff with the Republicans, it's down here too. Like I said earlier, Abbott and Paxton are going after these, rogue Republicans that, just follow the law. I mean, the Republican Party is just, I mean, it's in shambles right now. And it's fun to watch it burn because I want to kick myself sometimes knowing that I actually was part of that stuff. And I know it wasn't the same thing, but I mean, it deserves to go the way of the Whig Party or the Federalist. It just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's time to get some new ideas. And
I
I'm not
almost
saying the Democrats are perfect. We got to
No, they
watch
aren't.
too. Yeah,
Well, like with the Colorado thing with the Supreme Court taking Donald Trump off the ballot, there's a lot of people say it's the best smart choice. Other people say, no, that's crazy, and here's why. Everybody's got an explanation as to why
yeah,
their side will work. Um, Donald Trump claims he's going to appeal that to the Supreme Court. And that's a risky call if he does it. Now, I don't know what the Supreme Court will do. Old Soul seems to think that they'll just come up with some loophole and let him go on the ballot. Um, the other option is that they will act on it and say no, he can stay off the ballot. Now, if Donald Trump made that appeal to the Supreme Court and they do that, he's done. He's
yeah.
absolutely done because once the Supreme Court says he could be taken off the ballot in Colorado, he could be taken off every ballot in every state that wants to do it. And I'll be honest with you right now, the other option is that they say now send it back to the states. And right now there's probably anywhere from 14 to 16 states, including my state here in Minnesota and California, working on doing the same thing. Now, by taking Colorado, Minnesota, or California out of the mix for Donald Trump, not really a big electoral thing because he wouldn't have won those states anyway. But just the precedent it sets where states are just saying, no, we don't even think he's legitimate enough to be on the ballot. That's a precedent to set, and it's going to work against him when he comes down to election day if he ends up being there.
Well, we talked about it earlier how Dan Patrick was saying they'll do the same thing with Biden. I don't put it past them to try that. I mean, they just passed a
No,
controversial law where you can, you think somebody's an illegal, you can arrest them. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could set a precedence. They have no thing to stand, but the thing about the Republicans is that they don't do anything that helps the American people. They just want to be that bully in high school that just wants to fuck with you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's just, yeah, or it's that person, that kid that has that shitty ass pair of shoes because their dad can't afford them,
right.
and you got to pick on them. That's what they are. That's what the Republicans are. They don't do anything to get anything passed. And it's when I see who I think is one of the biggest assholes, Trump going after another jerk and Chip Roy, that brings a thing to my heart. You know what I mean? I can't stand either one of them,
No, hell no.
but it's just they don't get along and they can't govern because they're bullies. Bullies don't work well together.
Yeah,
That's why it takes the Democrats to freaking get their. And you can say what you want to about the Democrats. You got some kooky people on that side of the
no
as
shit.
well. But the Democrats, I mean, how many times they saved McCarthy? They saved Johnson this last time. I mean, it's when it comes to getting something done and pass, it has to be bipartisan, unless it's a thing to do an inquiry on Biden. And these Republicans and like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, she thinks just opening up an investigation is the impeaching
Right,
because she got all pissed off at Lindsey Graham because like Lindsey Graham's like a broken clock. It's twice a day. It's right.
right.
I mean, every once in a while, there's like that little thing in there of somebody who's smart, but it's like Republicans can't legislate because they're just a bunch of bullies working together, and it's my way or the highway, and Democrats can be like that too, but I mean, I think Democrats, at least now, they're putting, well, the American people, and the media goes after the Democrats. Oh, well, they're split on Israel. Well, and Hamas is, or not, or Gaza. And it's like, well, I mean, there's nobody that should have the same thoughts. You're going to have different perspectives when you're different parts of the country. But the Republicans, it's like my way, fuck you and your way. I mean, that's why shit's not getting done. So,
Well, and that's the problem with Congress is right now it's my way or my way, and nothing will come in between. And that's the exact opposite of what Congress is supposed to be. Congress is supposed to be there for compromise and negotiation, and there is none now. So Congress is broken. It's not working. And if we've got a Supreme Court that we can't trust and a Congress that is broken, we're already hanging by a thread in terms of a democracy. So we need to do what we need to do to fix it. And I think that there will always be some people that follow the bully no matter what. You see it with kids in school, you see it in business. There's the bully guy, and they're just fearful, so they follow directly behind and go along with anything. The Republicans are only concerned with one thing: not governing, not doing their job at all. They're worried about getting more money and more support. And as long as Donald Trump represents that to them, they'll stand behind it. It has
oh yeah,
nothing to do with his criminal behavior, his corrupt behavior. As long as they see some benefit to them, they will stand behind them. And that's why I think that, not until the election day in 2024, assuming there's a blue wave, then people will say, all right, I've had enough. By that time, it's too late for them, but that's what it's going to take. They're that fucking thick headed that that's what it's going to take.
yeah, they're going to have to be wiped out the face of the earth or
Yeah.
map or whatever politically for it to happen. Because I mean, you think about, they haven't really, I mean, the Democrats have won, but they haven't really, I mean, Biden beat him by a lot, but, you still got the Congress, you still have, the red districts within the blue states
Right.
or
Right.
versa. Um, and I'm optimistic about the wave. The blue wave, but I think it's going to happen in the House. The Senate, I'm not too sure about. I'm hoping that Ted Cruz goes away. But also got to kind of worry about with Congress is you have a lot of even like you don't really have I don't think there's such thing as a moderate Republican anymore.
No.
Yeah, with them to to vote the thing for Biden, even in Biden districts, thinking they have enough with no evidence. That proves that, like you said, they align with MAGA. But what you're having now is you're having the Kevin McCarthy, love him or hate him, he was probably a normal, what today would call a normal Republican. He's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and it's great because Marjorie Taylor Greene hooked her wagon to him, and now he's gone, and MAGA hates her. But you have a lot of the, it's who would you rather have in Congress? Would it be Matt Gaetz or Kevin McCarthy? I'd take McCarthy any day
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
McCarthy has proven that he can be bipartisan. Matt Gaetz is just I don't know how to say him,
Well,
but you have a lot of the normal Republicans leaving, and that's kind of scary, real scary.
well, that's a big problem. We're hearing 30, 40 Republicans retiring from Congress, and they all seem to be the normal ones that are just tired of the craziness and the bullshit and aren't willing to have their lives ruined by sticking with this group. The question is, what happens when they go? Does that open the door, and does that bring in more crazy fucks, or does that open the door for more Democrats, or is it a split between the two? It's hard to say what's going to happen, but the Republican Party, like you say, is in shambles right now. I don't think it's going to fare very well for them for the Senate or the House. Um, this whole abortion thing is the big issue to me. Anybody who supports abortion, um, supports canceling abortion, is going to lose. There's just too many people, too many young people that are fearful of that situation, having their constitutional right taken away from them. It's a much bigger issue than they ever imagined, and now they don't know what to do. They can't walk away from it because they'll piss off the evangelicals, but they can't wrap their arms around it because they'll lose votes. They're in a no-win situation, so they embrace it, but they try not to talk about it. If Democrats are smart, every time they go up to an opponent that's a Republican, what's your stance on abortion? And if they don't answer, we can presume that they support making it illegal. And that's going to be enough to get them to lose. If I'm running for anything, that's the first thing I ask these people. What are your
Did you?
stance on abortion? And they got to answer because they're running for fucking Congress.
Oh, they don't necessarily have to answer. They can run away like Cornyn and Ted Cruz did.
Yeah, but
They
they
had
can only run so
reporters.
far.
Yeah, but it's like Kellyanne Conway was up there and she was like, you know, this is how lost that party is. They're sitting there. The dog caught the car. The dog doesn't know what to do now. So
Right.
what are they doing? Oh, contraceptive.
Yeah,
There's Republicans that want to ban that.
I know. And that's
But
going to,
she's out there trying to convince them not to do that. That's how nuts these people are.
yeah,
But they don't want you to touch their Bibles, but they want to tell you what you can do with your body.
right.
And it's like there was some guy or there was Ted Cruz. He was at some speech or something, and he
I
got all
saw that. Yeah.
saying that you're a liberal woman, you're not satisfied with a liberal man. And I'm like, dude, you left your dog behind to freeze when you fled to Cancun.
Right.
Don't
Right.
tell me about pleasing a woman in bed. Bitch, you can't even turn the damn keep the heater on. Whatever, dude. Just
Ted,
shut
T-
up.
Ted Cruz is kind of like the Barney Fife of politics. He likes to act tough, and all you have to do is look at him and say, "This motherfucker's not tough. This is the biggest wimp." He just thinks if he's like a Yorkshire Terrier that barks a lot.
Yeah.
He sounds loud, but there's nothing he can fucking do because there are dogs that shit as big as he is. And, I hope he's gone because that may be why he's promoting this podcast so much. He figures he's going to need a job after 2024. I think he probably will lose because not only is he a Republican, but doesn't have a lot of respect, I think, of even Republicans because he's such a dipshit.
Yeah, Beto lost to him, and it was just so close. And it just that was one of the worst losses. I mean, it's like when you're in a football game and you're getting blown out. That's one thing,
Yeah.
but when you come so close to winning, and you just don't make it, that's even harder. And it's just that I'm optimistic he goes away, and I think he will go away because I think enough people. But I don't know if there's a charismatic enough. There's two guys running against him, but I don't. I mean, and we're less than a year out when they got to do it. But I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I just don't see the buzz Beto had. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. I'm trying to be optimistic,
Right.
but I think I've just been left at the altar too many times by the Democrats in Texas that I'm a little jaded, Mike. I mean, it's like, goddamn, Beto should have he should have wiped the floor with Abbott. He should have wiped the floor with, he should have wiped the floor with Ted Cruz, but it's just, it's heartbreaking sometimes. And just all this shit goes on. And yeah, I know it keeps going back to Texas and stuff, but you know, it sucks, dude. I mean, it really does suck because this
Well,
state could be its own country at
right.
one time, and we can't even get the damn lights on. I mean,
Well,
it's just
I'll be honest with you. If they could turn Texas blue, it's over for the Republicans. They're fucking done.
well, that's going to be over. I think it's going to be over for Republicans before. I think Texas. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, like I said, but I think Texas has a ways to go before the rest of the country because I think we're behind. They talk about Florida. I think Florida has more hope than we do.
Really?
Arizona. I would put because I think DeSantis is so despised by his. I think but Abbott. He just won another term. I mean, it's just I don't know what Abbott has to do. It's like these Republicans down here, like with they're the opposite of Trump. Trump loses it like it causes him to evidently quit eating and throw ketchup. We all know that he wasn't missing any meals. He's probably like us, But with Paxton and Abbott, it's like these little victories it emboldens them more. But I just think, Trump is too stupid to give up. People like Paxton and Abbott, they feel like they have a mandate. So
Yeah.
it's two sides of the coin. So
Yeah, I'm not counting on Texas. I'm not counting on Texas at all. I'm just counting on the likes of, say, Michigan or maybe Arizona. Just enough swing states to.
and I hate it too because I was driving down South Texas and it's like there's a lot of good people. I had a guy talking to me today. He was an old guy at the gas station and I'm judgmental too. He sees me, he probably thinks I'm another fellow Republican. We didn't talk politics, we talked football, of course.
Right, right.
But it's like there's a lot of good people, and this is a beautiful freaking state if they can
It
just get
is.
their shit together.
Yeah,
But it's
you.
just, yeah, it's and then I talk about leaving. I don't want to leave. I mean, I want to. I don't want to leave. I want to fight for it, so to speak. But but when you get hurt and you get kicked in the nuts so many times, you might just have to walk away.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, if the Republicans were to be able to take over, and I don't think there's any way that's going to happen in 2024, it's going to change a lot in this country, and none
Yeah.
of it for the better. And you're going to see people taking a different attitude. And that's what I've said before. People are so afraid of fascism and what would come if Republicans were uh, running this country. Everybody talks about Republicans with Civil War and all that stuff. I'm not worried about violence with the Republicans because they don't have enough power, they don't have enough support. I'm worried about the people on the left that are deeply frightened of fascism because when you get people that frightened, they can act out. Not all of us, but there are some crazies in every faction.
Oh yeah.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't some kind of violence happening from the left, or even some of the moderate Republicans getting tired of having Donald Trump leading the way for him. I don't know. I just maybe we're all worrying about something that isn't necessary. Like I said, to me, it's destiny. We're headed the right direction, and I don't see us coming off track. There is nothing that is positive for the Republicans right now. I mean, all I have to say to you is, okay, if you think they're going to win in 2024, what has happened to gain support? Nothing. Nothing good has happened since 2022. So why should we expect anything different than what we saw in 2022, other than the media wants to tell us that it's going to be a close one? I just don't think it is.
I I mean, I believe you. I mean, I want to clear the air here. I have more faith in my country than I do my state. I just want to say that. I think
Uh,
America, like you said, is on the right track. It's just Texas is we're like that, that person going through therapy that's just going to take us a little longer to get there. Hopefully where America goes first, we'll follow. But I do believe that, I don't think the Republicans have a prayer against Biden no
no,
matter who runs, no matter what the media tells you, because you have like this poll over here, so he's losing. You have this poll over here, so he's winning. It's like, well, you're not polling every damn person in America. And people who has a landline anymore, millennials definitely don't.
no.
So, I mean, maybe there is hope for Texas. We'll see with Ted Cruz. If Ted Cruz loses, then it'll be like Texas admitting I have a problem and I need help. So let's
we
do
got
it.
we got to give Texas an
Yeah.
intervention. We
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
all got to sit down and say, listen, guys, you got a great state here. You live in San Antonio. I love San Antonio. It's a great place. Corpus Christi, all these places. It's like Florida. There's a lot of great places in Florida. I won't go back to Florida.
Yeah.
I just have no desire. I got to think when I go down to Florida and the vibe is totally
Mhm.
off. When I go someplace to get away, I want it to be a nice feeling. And I just don't see how that's possible down in Florida, given what is going on. Um, it's there's going to be a lot of trials and tribulations between now and 2024 November. And what bothers me more than anything is there's so many people just agonizing over this. I see them come to my page all the time and go, oh, you made me feel better. But these people are losing sleep at night and they are worried about what could happen. And I think a lot of it is wasted anxiety. You're going through this shit, and then when it comes down to it, you're going to realize all that was wasted time, and that bothers me. I think people need to live their lives and have some happiness and hope in their life. People that don't have hope, what's the fucking point?
Well, that's how I discovered you when I was going through TikTok, and I was freaked out about the red wave coming. I had people tell me that to my face.
Right.
It's funny how after it happened, nobody said anything. Somebody at work, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to get into it. Hey, what happened to that red wave? And I didn't want to say that. I a lot of times with people I know that I can't have a conversation with, I act indifferent. It's kind of like preaching to an atheist. It's like the atheist is going to believe what they believe. You ain't going to convince them other way. You can't talk to a Republican, not down here a lot of times. But I could be wrong with what happened
Right.
today. But I mean, I do believe. I'm not so sure about the Senate. I do believe the House, and I do believe Joe's going to win. The Senate's just we have a lot of seats that are up, and the Democrats have a lot of seats that are up. So and maybe I'm listening to the media, but there's times I gotta shut down even MSNBC because they may be scaring the shit out of people. People need to be scared. I mean,
Yeah.
because I
Well,
think that you tell them not to be, you tell them that hey, think about this, but I think there should be a real alarm for this. I think that maybe the media is going to do that. That people need to be scared because sometimes if you're too dumb to be scared, I mean, it's
yeah.
like you might as well vote for
Yeah.
Trump. It's like whatever.
Well, that's the thing about some place like MSNBC. I don't watch as much cable news as I used to.
No
I do.
more.
I try to, it'll give me hints of things going on, but a lot of times TikTok or just a notification I get that says, "Oh, did you hear Rudy Giuliani filed bankruptcy?" Then that gives me a reason to go look into it and see what really happened. But I don't know with the media if they are purposely lying to us for a positive reason to make people fearful to make sure everybody votes, or if they're just doing it to set up a show, promoting a fight, if you will. Because if they came out and said, "Yeah, Joe Biden's wiping them out," that's going to cost them a lot of money in terms of viewers.
Oh yeah,
People are going to get,
and people may not vote.
well, they might not vote either. And so I don't know if they're doing it hopefully for a greater good or they're doing it for their own benefit. I don't know which one it is, but um, I mean, all we can do is ride it out and see what happens. But when I try to look at stuff, I try to look at the logic. It could go this way or that way. Now, I can see how it would go well for the Democrats. I just don't see anything stacking up to go good for the Republicans. Everything we hear about the Republicans is either embarrassing or bad. How does that equate into winning an election? It just fucking doesn't.
Well, you can. I mean, I know MSNBC kind of does the polls thing, but I mean, every once in a while they get it right. Joe Scarborough said it too. Everybody always underestimates Joe Biden. He
Yeah, they
wasn't
do.
supposed to win against Trump. Then you hear Jen Psaki. She talks about stuff. She talks about how this shit doesn't add up. Rachel Maddow, who I just finished her book prequel. If you like an audiobook and you want to know about, this shit, it's not new. This shit has been happening forever
Oh
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
overtaking of things. It's a great book. I highly recommend it to the listeners. I like Rachel Maddow. I always listen to her stuff. I wish she was on every night. Then you have Chris Hayes. It's on All In. He was saying shit doesn't add up either. So when you it's almost like the media when they show the polls, it's like they're almost like being lazy. They're not doing their homework. Like the ones I just mentioned, they put stuff out there. No, it may not necessarily be like this. So I think the media is there, but I think on MSNBC they do that stuff. But I mean, I don't watch Fox or OAN or all
No,
that
no.
stuff. But
Well,
I'll
you
watch it. I'll watch MSNBC. But hey, I listen to the Rational Boomer every day. That's where I get
you well
one of
you
my
you mentioned a poll that you saw before we got on
yeah.
the air. What was that about?
It was I saw it on Drudge. Yeah, I read Drudge because Drudge links to websites
It's an
and they're
aggregate. It's an
yeah
aggregation
yeah
of stuff.
it's something that it's something that you can actually but it was a Romson foe and I saw that word I thought Ramaswamy did a poll
Yeah,
but
great.
it's a Rom I guess it's a kind of right wing kind of a poll
Really?
And they had, I think that's, I mean, like I said, I don't really follow polls, but Drudge, if you go to Drudge Report, it's there in red right above. It's showing Nikki Haley only behind 4 points in New Hampshire to Trump, but it says Biden's points are up to 46%. That's, it's,
It's a significant jump.
well, I think Biden's been hammering Trump on shit, and he's been kind of tooting his own horn. Look what we did with Bidenomics. Because I see these people, and it's just so funny to watch Fox Business. There's a girl on there. And I don't watch Fox Business. I just see it on the internet, and she's a big conspiracist. She used to be actually be pretty smart. I forget her name, but she's one of those people that called out Comer like, well, you don't have any evidence, but she hammers Biden on stuff, and I just like seeing that they'll show it when the numbers come out and the numbers are good, and you have this like people that are definitely right wing. Well, these are good numbers. Well, it's Biden's been president for close to 3 years now, so
Right.
these are his numbers. It's hard for them to hide it. And I personally hope it continues because they're going to be like Joe Scarborough was talking about a year next year. We may have interest rates cuts.
Right.
That's going to help the economy more. And there's that a thing on Drudge too, talking about some link to do it saying that they're saying the worst may be behind us now. Does
Well,
that help somebody having worked 2 or 3 jobs? No, but that's not on the economy. That's on the business not paying their employees.
right. Well, and that's what you have to consider too is, a year ago, year and a half ago, they were telling us, oh, a recession is certain. And at that
And
time, I'm
Janie
not
Dimon is still preaching that shit.
right. And
Jamie
it's not.
Dimon.
And it's not. And the only reason they say there's a recession coming is because they want it to hurt Joe Biden.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
you told us a year and a half ago it's coming. If you tell me now it's coming, sorry, I'm not buying it because you've proven that you don't know what you're fucking talking about.
Yeah. There was a article about Jamie Dimon too, who runs Chase, who I don't know if you do you have if you have Netflix, but
Yeah.
there's a Bernie Madoff mini series, and it talks about all the crap that went on and how I don't think Diamond was at Chase at the time, but they're pretty much saying that Chase had to know what was going on because when you transfer $10,000 out of an account, which I've never had the pleasure of doing, not lately at least, and they have to alert the SEC or something. And they had people that went to the SEC telling them, hey, this cannot be possible. But there were billions moved in between his personal account, and that should have sent a flag. But Chase, oh, we'll just pay $1.5 billion fine, we're a move on. But they knew it was going on.
Right.
So it's hard to trust these big banks. And Janie, and I think I sent you an email on this one. Jamie Dimon was, he endorses Nikki Haley, and Democrats should help get her elected. Now, why would I want to get her elected when the guy I voted for close to 4 years ago is doing a good job?
Right.
And people, and I tell my buddy the other day, we're talking shit. I go, man, those Biden, I did that stickers. I don't see that shit anymore. And I paid $245 the other day.
Right.
You
Well,
know what I mean? It's like
they're trying to polish up Nikki Haley to make her look normal. But the bottom
she's
line
not.
is she was a Trump humping piece of shit too. She
And
supported
she'll still
Donald
vote
Trump.
for him. And
Yeah,
she raised her hand when they asked her if you'll vote for him as a nominee.
even if
She
he's
will.
convicted.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I don't trust her, and I just don't see how she's a Republican candidate, being that she's of East Indian heritage and she's a woman.
A woman. Yeah.
Yeah, that's never going to happen in the Republican Party. That's got to be a scary situation. You know, people say you think Donald Trump won't be the nominee, and that's crazy because he's got all these support. And I always just say this. I said, well, maybe I'm crazy, but the only way Nikki Haley gets in and even gets considered as a nominee is if Donald Trump drops out. And the one remaining Koch brother thought enough to put millions of dollars into her. Now maybe I don't know shit, but I have a feeling that somebody who invests millions of dollars into a candidate may have some insights that we don't have.
Yeah, and um I forget his name, the guy from Florida who's the governor of Florida.
DeSantis.
I Yeah, DeSantis. He's under this theory that Nikki Haley and Chris Christie are running together, that they're working together for this. But Chris Christie won't win an election because
No.
he'll keep the MAGA away. Nikki Haley will probably keep the MAGA away because she's a woman, and she's that was like I guess what's his name? Who's it? Jindal that was in Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Bobby Jindal. That it was funny. It's like he was a golden boy there for a while,
He
and I
was. I haven't
remember.
heard from him.
Well, he had to speak. It's kind of like DeSantis when he got up there, the lights he lost. But I remember being a Republican back then, going, they'll never vote for him because he's
Oh,
not white, and I
right.
knew it back then. I mean, it wasn't me, but then again, I was voting for a party that did that. It's like you got to wake up and look at what's around you. I mean, not everything's white anymore. I mean, America's a melting pot as much. And I remember Rush Limbaugh. The one thing I always disagreed with him about, even when I liked him, that whole multiculturalism. No, we're America first. You can't. I mean, it's like, yeah, but you're proud of your Irish roots, but somebody from Africa can't be proud of theirs.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
but we are a melting pot, and when people wake up and realize that, we realize it. And Trump ain't getting the younger voters, and he's not getting the minority vote. There is no freaking way. People may be a little upset with Biden, but when it comes down to it, and they see the two names, if it is Trump or if it's Biden, the Republican, they're going to vote where they voted before. It may not bring as many out, but I don't think Biden's going to lose that one.
When and who do we look at and congratulate for Biden's win in 2020? Black women.
Mm-hmm.
People don't give them enough credit.
Mm-hmm.
They play a huge role in this country in the future, and I'm not thinking very many women of color are going to vote for Joe Biden since he's, the whole overturning Roe v. Wade thing. Donald Trump
I mean,
fucked up
you
there.
said Donald Trump. They're not going to vote for Donald Trump.
They're not going to vote for Donald. Did I say Biden? I meant Donald Trump.
Starting to scare me there, Mike. Like,
yeah.
something I don't.
Well, yeah, but the thing about it is the one commercial they should play over and over again is where Donald Trump was talking, and he said, "I was the one that did the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It was me. Nobody could do it in 50 years, but I did it." He took pride. He took credit for overturning Roe v. Wade, and that should be enough for him to lose the election. Yep. Just by virtue of 75% of the people supporting Roe v. Wade.
I have to disagree with you a little bit about
sure.
Nobody gives the minority, like women, enough credit or whatever.
Okay.
I disagree with that because you look at these states, who are they targeting to make it harder to vote, especially here in Texas,
well,
Georgia.
That's true.
You can't even give somebody some bottled water when they're waiting in line.
Yeah, that's
bottled water. It ain't like it's True Serum or something, or Democrat juice to make them vote. But that's how paranoid these Republicans and desperate they are. I mean, I see it all the time. They know when, and you're right. In a sense, they don't get enough credit because that's who turns out.
Right.
But the Republican, be rest assured, the Republicans know what's going on. That's why it's so goddamn hard to do it.
Right.
That's why it makes it hard to vote.
I mean, it's like you talked about Beto being ashamed not winning in Texas, and I agree with you there. But the real travesty of a politician that should have some position and doesn't, Stacey Abrams in Georgia.
I agree.
Jesus Christ, she may be one of the best politicians in the country, the smartest women, the most articulate politician, not just women. And she can't, win the Senate or the governorship in Georgia. Something's got to be done with her. Once Joe Biden gets past 2024, he's got to get her in the mix. She's too valuable to this country and the future of this country to be sitting on the sidelines.
It's funny with Georgia, and Kemp is if Kemp could ran for president, I think he would be. I think he could probably beat Trump. I guess like what Nikki Haley is, because he's a man and he's a white man.
He's a white man from Georgia.
But from Georgia, and I think that's it's no fault of Stacey's. It's no fault of her own that she did that. It's just I mean, a lot of Democrats like Kim. It's been proven about that. She had that against her too, but she held her own when she debated him. But I want to talk about Georgia. I mean, I personally have donated to Joe Biden. I don't give them, I don't write a check like, the Koch brothers and stuff, but I support my, the whatever.
Well, fortunately,
And Ralph,
unfortunately, our benefactor George Soros has got us covered
yeah,
on that deal.
the check didn't, yeah, they gave us enough to funnel the money through them.
Yeah,
But I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan. You know that, right?
yeah,
I've mentioned it.
yeah. And
I like the pain.
as a Viking fan, I'm getting fucking tired of it. But go on.
Yeah, but we're both Lobo losers.
Yeah,
But Raphael Warnock, I guess I got something from the Democrat thing. I actually donated to him
really.
because Herschel Walker was being so used by Trump that I felt sorry for the guy. But I knew he can't be in office. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like the Warnock. I mean, it's like it was a shame that he was losing so close to, like, I think every little bit helped. He had to beat that guy, and
Uh,
it's like I got more faith in Georgia than I do Texas, kind of like the state.
yeah, I do
But
too.
it's like for every, like, Stacey Abrams using that, they got it right with Warnock. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, and they say Georgia's a swing state. I don't think so much anymore for the Republicans. I think Donald Trump, with all that stuff going on, I don't think it's going to endear him to the people of Georgia, Arizona, or New Mexico. It's just, I think you're right. I think Biden beats any Democrat, any Republican handily. And
Absolutely.
I'm very, very optimistic about that. And I thank you for slapping some sense into me, Mike. Not many people can do that, as they've told me. But if turn off the media, turn on Rational Boomer on here and TikTok. It's a shame you don't have your own station on, like, Mike TV somewhere. You know what I mean? Just
I don't know. Yeah.
showing the masses how it can be done.
Well, I'm happy doing what I do here with the podcast, and happy, I always, always want more people listening and stuff. But if somebody came to me from an outlet and said, "Hey, we want to hire you," I would not take the job, because at this stage of my life, it's not about money. It's not about anything but being able to say what I want to say. And no matter who I work for, whether it be a left side or a right side, they'd say, "Mike, that's too far." Well, I know
Yeah,
what's
you
too
don't need
far for
that.
me. I don't want anybody telling me what's too far, because if they tell me what's too far, I'm crossing over it. But yeah, I like to be on the outside, shit stirring. People say you should run for something. No, you don't want me running for something. I'd be a horrible politician. I'd just be an annoyance to an already fucked up system. Uh, Better to stand on the outside and stir the shit and see if we can. I mean, here's the deal. I told people this too. On TikTok, I'm at 299,000 peers. I call them, not followers, because nobody should be following me.
Right.
Um, when I started this, I thought, okay, I'll get maybe 10,000 followers and then maybe a good start to a podcast. The fact that I have that many followers and I'm on the verge of breaking 300,000, that's not a lot compared to some people out there, but it's way farther than I ever thought I could get. And when I hit 300,000, that's an in that, you know, I like the fact that I hit the 300,000, but that isn't a celebration of me. What really excites me about hitting that number is to be able to say the things I say, and 300,000 people in this country saying, "Hey, I'm with you on that." Because
Well,
then
it's
that
more than
but then that tells me that, once we have a group of people together like this, there's more power in that, and it gives me hope for what the future is.
it's more than that, because I've actually, it's weird that we're friends on TikTok,
Right.
but I don't see you all the time. I mean,
Right.
it's like I never see Hawk anymore. I actually have to search for stuff now, or
Right.
Legal Dad. I watch a lot of those guys, and it's like you're more than 300,000, because I've seen people stitch your video. People I don't even know, but it'll come up my For You page.
Yeah, I know.
But I get a kick out of sometimes. I get a kick when you're reading these emails, and you got people on there. Well, hey Mike, email me when you want me to come on the show, and you're like, no, motherfucker, you email me
Yeah.
as a guest on the show. It's so easy. just email the man. You want to be on the show. Give your voice. Hell, he's giving me a voice. Not many people do that.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it's like it's like if you don't speak up for yourself, nobody's going to. It's easy. Mike's very agreeable. You can have an argument with him, but we're not calling each other names. We can disagree on something
Right.
friendly.
Right.
But if you listen to the podcast and you like the podcast, come on the show. Give your thoughts because it's only going to make the show stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. All they have to do is send me an email at rationalboomer@gmail.com. And it's one thing for me to sit here and do a show by myself, and I don't mind doing it. And it's not that
Yeah.
hard. People say you do an hour a night. When I was in radio, I was doing 7 hours a day. So this is not a big deal. And since I control it, I don't have any restrictions as to what I can or can't do other than those I put on myself. But I tell people that having Old Soul or yourself or Eric or any of the other ones on, Ed, it does make the show better. The whole point of the Rational Boomer isn't about me
Yeah.
being the Rational Boomer. I'm not there is no the Rational Boomer. Rational
Yeah.
Boomer is the whole concept and the whole ideology. And as long as we're all people of a like mind, we're all Rational Boomers, whether of that age. You're not a boomer, but you are part of the Rational Boomer thing. So it's just a name I tagged on myself because it seemed, I don't know, it seemed like an oxymoron. Rational and boomer. What are the odds those two things ever come together? And that just kind of stuck. But it's more about, wanting something better for the country and speaking it. Because the only way I can have any impact is I can say it. And the more people who hear it and then repeat it and then they repeat it, that's how we get something done. I can't do it on my own. I'm just the loudmouth that starts the fucking ball rolling. It's all of you that actually accomplish something.
Well, I mean, speaking for myself, and I know probably the ones that come here multiple times. It's truly. I enjoy doing this. I
I
mean,
do too. I love it.
you you would have asked Jason or Jace from 1992. It's like you're going to be defending Democrats. What the hell? What kind of future do you have? I mean, it's you got to grow, and have I seen things the right way all the time? No, but I think I've grown up a lot, and I just wish a lot more people would. But I think shows like yours, or you have a lot of toxicity on Fox, on MSNBC. I mean, a lot of stuff in the media because they want to control it. Well, here nobody really controls it but us and the
Right.
listeners. We
Right.
you don't tell us what we can say. I know we totally disregarded the script George Soros sent us earlier. We were going to go with it today. We
Yeah.
can't always follow that,
Now
but
George is going to call me and be pissed off tomorrow, but fuck him.
it's like it's the way they think that. It's like, well, you only think that way because somebody told you. When it's so funny, they only think that way because Donald Trump tells them. Jim
Right.
Comer and they're all examples of that. They're
And,
doing
th-
Trump's bidding.
and that's one thing I was talking to Old Soul about. I think because I block all Trump the fucks, I never got much negative on my TikToks. No matter what I say, I never got much negative. Lately, I've been getting a lot of Trump fucks coming to my page, and
Yeah,
I see
I've
that
seen
as
it.
a good sign because
Yeah.
they're now seeking people like me out because they're nervous. They know they're losing, and they come on my page. They don't argue with me about what I said. They'll say you're dumb. Why don't you just be quiet? Why don't you just do this? And they got nothing. They're just tired of hearing me talk about it. And since we've been tired about hearing Republicans talk, that was the point. I want to beat them at their own game, and I think we are.
Have you noticed also too that they're probably bots like what's going on with Twitter.
Yeah, yeah,
Most of them don't have a picture.
yeah,
Most and it's like they don't say anything mean. Trump's the greatest president ever. That's all they say. It's like, well, they could have somebody in Russia writing that stuff up. But
yeah,
what I have gotten into. I mean, obviously, I have Twitter or I have Twitter. I don't have Twitter actually. I got rid of it, but I have TikTok to follow like there. I don't like. I'm not a poster. I think I did. I'm not somebody that likes to put stuff out there.
yeah.
I like to do my podcast here with you, and then my podcast, on music and stuff. But on Facebook, I have a lot of people that I belong to a couple, Democrat leftist, left leaning stuff. but I have a lot of friends that are, left leaning. And what I've gotten to the habit lately is when they go on a Joe Biden rant and they start telling me how they're not going to vote for Biden, I don't have time for that. So
No.
I block them too. It's as bad as a Trumper for me. If you're anti-Biden, I don't have nothing to do with you. Is the man perfect? No, but I support Biden. And when you go after Biden, you might as well be a Trumper in my book. I
Yeah.
don't agree with everything he does, but I don't want to see that bullshit either on my page.
Well, if you don't like Joe Biden, there's only one alternative at this point.
Yeah,
And even if you decide a third party, if you vote for a third party, you're voting for Donald Trump. So, yeah, I don't like you. I mean, and
I don't want to see it.
under normal circumstances, it wouldn't bother me. People can believe what they want to believe, but we're in such a bad situation right now. We can't take any risk. It's like the guy I talked about from my state that's trying to primary Joe Biden, Dean
Oh,
Phillips.
bullshit.
That guy
Yeah,
pisses me off. He represents my district. And should I have occasion to see him, it's not going to be a pleasant time for him because it angers me that his arrogance is putting him in a position to make an already tenuous situation even more fucking difficult. What the fuck are
yeah.
you thinking about? It's
Yeah,
just
it
ridiculous.
it's like, down here in Texas, there's a big it's called it's a Cornerstone Church, John Hagee,
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of
and
him.
I'll I'll see a truck that has FJB right next to a Cornerstone sticker, and I go, that sums it up right there. I mean, I don't like Trump, but I wouldn't put F him on my truck. You know what I mean?
No, no, I
I
wouldn't.
mean, I that's just he's still the president, and then and it's like, and with this stuff with Biden, it's like what they're going after, and they claim to be Christians. I guarantee you, John Snyder claims to be a Christian,
Yeah,
but he wants to kill somebody. I mean, and say they should be hung. I mean,
right.
there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, there's something wrong. There's
When we get to
definitely,
the point where you start and try to inflict bodily harm, I mean, that's not right. I mean, and I don't know.
but
It's
yeah,
it's
it's pretty frustrating to see what lengths people will go to just because they're angry or just because somebody else has a different opinion. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't. People always say, "You're just a hater." I said, "Well, if you're talking about hating a guy that's trying to overthrow the government, overturn elections, undermine democracy, ruin the future of this country for my kids and grandchildren, and if you're asking me, do I hate you? Yeah, I do."
yeah,
And that's unfortunate. I don't like hating people, but what you're doing is so egregious and so dangerous. If I didn't hate you, there'd be something wrong.
yeah.
So I'll own up to it. Yeah, I'm a hater when it comes
I'm
to
with you too.
fuckers. If
But
you're trying to,
I don't need to see all that stuff about, the bad stuff, because I mean I might as well go to his Trumpers page to see that stuff about Biden. I mean, they're people that are supposedly Democrats or liberals are harder on Biden and they're as bad as Biden as the Trump guys are. And I
yeah,
had a and the thing that sums up everything about Biden is like so many people hate Biden. But if you sit there and I read his book, and as a Republican, I always liked Joe Biden. Like when they passed the Affordable Care Act, and I was against it, of course, because I didn't know any better. Because Rush told me to, and oh yeah. But when he looked at Obama and he said, "This is a big fucking deal," how can you not like that? The guy
yeah,
is who he is,
yeah.
and
He's
he's a good
likable,
man. He goes a Christian. He's been through more personal tragedy than anybody should be.
right?
And I have my Republican friends tell me, I just wish we could get him on something. And that's exactly what the base wants to do. So don't get fooled by this all stuff, because Rudy Giuliani couldn't find anything in Ukraine and all that stuff. And most of that stuff they're coming with have been debunked already. So let them try. Let them try.
Rudy wants to get Joe Biden. Joe Biden's still in office. Joe Biden is fine, and Rudy's going to jail and is broke. So,
I want you
yeah,
to ask you a question. I know we're over, I mean, we're talking a
yeah,
lot. I saw a guy on TikTok that said, I guess he was reading the Giuliani chapter 11.
yeah,
I didn't think this, because I heard Michael Cohen say that this isn't dischargeable. But hey, give it a shot, I guess.
right.
That was very. But on the list of creditors, he had Hunter Biden on it.
I saw that.
Did you see that? I didn't know what that just came across. I don't know what that's about.
First of all, just so folks know, the $148 million that he owes Ruby and Shay, uh, That he can't write that off. He can file bankruptcy all day, every day. He still owes 148 million, and the judge is saying, "Go get that shit now." So, it's going to be a
Or
lot coming.
why did he file Chapter 11? Why I don't understand. I thought Chapter 11 was for like a business.
Well, I think he looks at it as a business. I mean, when he filled out the paperwork, I saw them list it, and they said, "Is this personal stuff?" And he said no. And I think he said when it was business stuff, he said no. I think he's trying to make it more business. I don't know enough about chapter 11, chapter 7. I know there's a difference, but he has to pay Ruby and Shay. There's just no question about it. And he may try to appeal it, but he's got a problem appealing it. As I've talked about before, he's got to put down a bond. You can't just say I'm going to appeal it and put it, and maybe 10% or 20%. Well, 10% of 148 million is a lot of money. It's 15 million bucks. And I don't think he's got it. He just said in
So
his
is that
he said he's only
so
got $10 million of assets.
so is the Trump thing different when he's got to appeal? Does he got to put a percentage down or like all of it? How does that work?
I'm not sure if he has to put all of it. Probably not all of it. I mean, it's kind of unprecedented, but he will have to put some money down. And the other thing with Rudy is, um, Rudy lost by default because
Wasn't
he
there?
he showed no evidence. Okay.
Yeah.
Now he can appeal it, and if he's got the money and he appeals it, he claims to have evidence. We've never seen the evidence, but in an appeal, you can't introduce new evidence. It's an appeal of the previous trial, and if he never provided evidence in the first trial,
First one.
what the
Yeah.
fuck's he going to appeal? And the same with Donald Trump. He's going to have to put a bunch of money down, and he's probably going to have to liquidate stuff to get that money. And he can try to appeal it, but his life is fucked in the process. I mean, they may still take away, leave it in receivership, and he's got no control over everything, anything. It's just Donald Trump cannot come out of this very well, even if he tries to delay it. He's still going to be fucked for a period of time.
I got a friend of mine that's a bankruptcy attorney, and he's told me that what the trustee, I guess the judge or whatever, their main deal is to get money out of them because they get a percentage of it.
Oh yeah,
So they're gonna if he does that chapter, you're put through a microscope, and thanks to the Republicans for making that thing harder for individuals to declare bankruptcy, George W. Bush,
right,
back then in 2005, I guess, because it was, you could declare bankruptcy, I guess, Chapter 7 personal more than one in 7 years.
right.
So, yeah, bankruptcy, oh, he can just go bankrupt. If you're honest, bankruptcy is probably a good option. If you're not honest, you're a lot of people in jail for bankruptcy fraud.
Yeah, it's not going to go well for him. And Rudy's 79 years old. He's not healthy. He's an alcoholic. He's broke. He's got the potential of
Wouldn't
going to
you? Wouldn't
jail.
you be in his situation? I would be too.
I said this on to Eric, I think, and it sounds pretty cold, but it's true.
uh,
The best thing that Rudy and Donald Trump could hope for, the best possible turnout, is if they both keel over and don't have to go to jail or don't care about the money. I mean, it's that bad for both of them. They're just absolutely fucked. And if they live another 20 years, that 20 years is going to be miserable.
well, they showed like I remember when Madoff finally went to jail. I mean, he didn't last very long in there, and he's
No,
about there, and he may be actually Madoff may actually be younger than they are when Madoff went. I mean,
I think he was.
it's hard on a young man when you're old. It's even worse because you're not from what I've seen. It's like you're just another number.
Yeah,
You're not they don't take in consideration your age and stuff. I mean, and there's always that part of getting jumped in prison. I
right.
don't think that'll happen to Trump. I think, like you said, he'll probably just be
He'll be
house
locked
arrest.
away alone. That's
Yeah.
why, that's why I've always been, uh, uh, I've always been careful about being illegal because, I mean, I think we both can agree I'm far too pretty to be in jail.
Yeah, exactly. Both of us, man, we wouldn't stand a
Oh,
chance.
no, 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 no. We wouldn't stand a chance. Well, you're right. We have gone a little long, but that's okay. It's my fucking show, and we'll go as
Yes,
long as
sir.
we want. But I appreciate you coming on, Jace. It's always a pleasure to have you
Thanks
on
for
and
having me.
have some insights from somebody other than this fucking knucklehead, meaning
Yeah.
me. So thank you very much, and please come on again as soon as you feel ready to do that. I'm always ready. I don't turn anybody down, because it's
Obviously,
always
you have me on, so.
there you go. I've had you on multiple times. I'm a
Oh
fucking
yeah,
mark.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I've
I'm
enjoyed it.
I'm a fucking mark. All right, we're going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank the folks listening for taking the time out of the day. Hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you tomorrow.